Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming out and listening to myself and the other companies on a Saturday night in Manchester. I'm here to talk about Lionsgold. Firstly, our disclaimer, which just says that what I'm about to present doesn't constitute a recommendation for you to invest. It's not necessarily all inclusive of the information that you might require to make an investment decision, and basically do your own research. Firstly, Lionsgold. We're a London Stock Exchange AIM quoted company that is focused on the exploration and production of gold, as well as the retail application of physical gold. And that, to some extent, allows us to achieve a vertically integrated business model. For shareholders, it provides exposure to two high-growth, global and possibly globally transforming markets at the moment. We've got India, which the consensus is by many that will be for the next 20 years what China was as far as underwriting the global economic growth in the world, what China was for the last 2 decades. And then we've got Fintech and banking and how that's transforming, and obviously would have just heard from George about what's happening in cryptocurrencies, but also, you know, banks aren't going quietly. There's much I think transforming in that sector as well, and that over the next 5 or 10 years, I think what we see as our bank account will look vastly different to how what we see in there at the moment. We've got a current share price based on yesterday's close at 3.9p, which gives us a market cap of 16.9 million. Just a little bit of background on Lionsgold. In mid-2016, there was an EGM held to appoint a new CEO and management along with new capital, where we raised 900,000 at 1.1p. That resulted in a market cap of £2 million, and that was a changing of the guard from the old management and the old focus that was ended up being unsuccessful. We went through an operational review and assessed the strategy that we thought we would implement. Firstly, we set out to progress the mining and exploration opportunities in India. The company already had an equity position in India's leading gold exploration company, which has the largest private gold exploration portfolio there. We set about securing a high-grade gold project in the second jurisdiction for a bit of risk mitigation there jurisdictionally, and to create a complementary fintech division. Each division is targeted to generate revenues over the medium term, and in February 2017, so almost a year ago now, after 6 months of taking charge of the company, we changed the name to Lionsgold to reflect the new direction and culture and style of everything. And we've established now that our focus is gold, fintech and India. The key people, there's myself as CEO. I'm experienced at building numerous public companies, and I have a track record in both mining and financial technology. I was the founder and inaugural CEO of Metal Tiger PLC. We brought that to market in the middle of June 2014 with a market cap of 1 million after raising £400,000 and a share price of half a penny. That was built up with my good friend Paul Johnson, who's down the back somewhere there. And by mid-2016, Metal Tiger's market cap was over £25 million and 5p a share, at which point I stepped across to do Lionsgold. I was also the co-founder and inaugural executive chairman of Coincilium Group, and that was the world's first blockchain fintech IPO on a recognised stock exchange. We listed that on Christmas Eve in 2015 at a market cap of 7 million, which is now 13. We have David Price as non-executive chairman, who joined us just in November just gone. He's a former CEO of an ASX-listed mining company. He's the current CEO of Papia Mining, and he's a qualified geologist and brings a lot of technical and operational knowledge at board level to our operations on the physical exploration and mining side. We also have Dr. Hanuma Prasad, who's a doctor of geology. He's the CEO of Multi-Metals India-focused exploration and mine development group called Australian Indian Resources, and they established Geomysource Services India, which is the exploration company that we own 21% of. He has worked directly on their assets since 2001, so that deep knowledge of our particular projects, as well as the work he's done in India, is very valuable to us, particularly at board level. And he recently had the honour of being invited to join the Indian government steering committee for the National Committee for Mineral Targeting. So congratulations, Panama. Other key people we have involved, we've got Alan Davies as a global strategy consultant. We were very pleased that he was willing to become engaged with Lionsgold. He's the former chief executive of Energy and Minerals at Rio Tinto PLC. He was for 8 years. He had the executive responsibility for everything Rio Tinto did in India. He's currently the CEO of his own Zambian copper company and non-executive director of an ASX-listed company, and he's the former non-executive director at Rolls-Royce Holdings PLC. We have Adam Ronaldson as our Chief Financial Officer. He's a chartered accountant, ex-Ernst & Young, and he's been a CEO formerly of a number of businesses, including the UK Government Housing Trust with over 200 employees and turning over tens of millions of pounds each year. And finally, we've got Rafe Hazel, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Track Technology, Lionsgold's subsidiary Fintech company. He's the founder of the Real Asset Company. He was also the founder of the first company to automate market making in gold futures on the Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange. And for the last 10 years, he's been pursuing his own entrepreneurial ideas. He created, as I say, the Real Asset Company, and he founded MoneySwap, a peer-to-peer currency exchange, which listed on AIM in 2011. So we tend not to have a shortage of entrepreneurial flair bouncing around in Lionsgold, which is why we're always looking to do things slightly more strategic and less vanilla than what can generally happen in some of the sectors. Firstly, onto our Indian gold. We have 21% of GMI Source Services India. They've been operating for more than 20 years. They've explored almost 27,000 square kilometres under reconnaissance permits in India. Based on their discoveries, they've applied for about 3 dozen prospecting licences and 3 mining leases covering almost 1,000 square kilometres. And they have 1 granted mining lease in India at Jonagiri, which is covering 6 square kilometres, which is, if I get my little red dot out, it's just there. Based on at the 30th of June data that we had, there was 351,000 ounces of a JORC compliant resource and indicated and inferred category at Jonagiri. The feasibility study was complete to take it to a decision to mine in Q4 last year, with a base case probable reserve of 150-odd thousand gold ounces, showing an NPV of 28 million. The total production case, which includes processing some low-grade stockpiles and inferred resource there, gives us a net present value of $35 million US. GMI Source has exploration rights to areas which cover extensions to the world-famous Kola gold mine, and we recently announced that they've applied for 2 mining leases at South Kola of 10 square kilometres each. For those of you that don't know, the world-famous Kola gold mine, it was for 100 years, up until about 2001, it produced 25 million ounces of gold. It was at the time that it was fully operational, the world's deepest mine. I think it went down to 3 kilometres, and the average grade on that 25 million ounces was 16 grams. So quite phenomenal. Obviously, a world-class mine. As far as our Finland Gold joint venture goes, this was where we were looking for a second stable jurisdiction to have a look at some other gold projects. We have invested and acquired 28% of our joint venture company there, called Kalevala Gold. Our joint venture partners were incorporated in early 2009. They had prospected 39 project areas covering almost 4,000 square kilometres in Finland. Much like with GMI Source, sometimes that's what you're buying into, otherwise somebody has to carry out this level of work and spend that amount of time. They've done copious amounts of soil samples over that time, ground magnetics, IP survey profiles. They drilled over 1,000 metres of diamond drilling and rotary air blast drilling. And the JV targets the high grade assets in their Suomi Salmi group. There are 6 exploration licenses totaling 300 square kilometres. And it's covering 90% of the known outcrop on the Suomussalmi greenstone belt. Just in last quarter, we received government permission to carry out testing on our processing equipment at Kuika, where we could do 200 tonnes of ore, and the JV is targeting a bulk sampling licence to be gained for 5,000 tonnes, which should provide, based on the grades that are known, should provide around 3,000 ounces of gold potentially for us in the second half of this year. That's our they're our physical mining and exploration assets and our work and involvement there. The other part of the business is to do with Fintech. And so to give you a little bit of background of how, or the timing of when we got involved with that, that previous company that I was one of the co-founders on, Coincilium, we actually took an investment in the real asset company. And when I went to Lionsgold, I actually ended up buying off Coincilium initially, I think it was a 27% stake in Track. And that was back in November 2016. And we announced that we had acquired this minority shareholding position. And again, what we're doing is we're buying an already going concern, or a robust, small business, albeit, but something that's proven and established, in gold and with a gold and silver trading platform. Track still holds, on behalf of clients, around 120 kilos of gold and 4.5 tonnes of silver across vaults in London, Singapore, Hong Kong and Geneva. In July 2017, so 6 months ago, Lionsgold became the majority shareholder, increasing our stake to 55%. With another financial commitment, and at the same time I also invested alongside Lionsgold to acquire 5%. And the reason for that is because we're getting more and more serious into financial technology. Historically it had been a natural resources exploration and mining company, and it seemed to be I suppose the right genuine thing to do to demonstrate that we're not just kind of making interesting bets, if you like, or investing decisions with shareholder money. We're prepared to do it ourselves. So that was the importance of that message. That's why I did it. And the digital gold currency Goldbloc has been developed as a collaboration of Rafe and myself, which brings us on to Goldbloc and what it is. First of all, and this is quite such a breakthrough, is that this allows us to put direct ownership of physical gold into a bank account. And our technology platform provider, Railsbank, which we announced announced last month that we're taking a 12.5% equity stake in, as well as securing the exclusive to their platform to do this. That technology allows us to do this. So you will shortly, when we release this in Q2, you'll be able to get a bank account, you'll have an IBAN, you'll have a debit card. That account will be delineated in Goldbloc, and Goldbloc is just a weight of gold. It's measured as 1,000th of a gram of gold. That physical gold is yours, directly owned. It'll be held in London. And you can then go about using your gold, saving in gold, spending your gold as easily as you would with everyday banking in some other currency that you might use, like pounds. It really is a breakthrough scenario. There are some, actually there are many players that have tried to achieve this. And usually there's a bit of a mix between having physical gold directly owned, possibly a mix of some ETFs or some other derivatives in gold to demonstrate that they could get your gold if it was called upon. The other thing that's usual is you may see a prepaid card, which are expensive. They're expensive to use compared to debit cards that are already interlinked with a bank account. And they are clunky. They're not accepted everywhere. Anyway, but to actually put a direct ownership of a commodity into your bank account is honestly, it's quite a breakthrough. And this is what we're doing. And I suppose the question is, why would you do it in gold? Do you have to take a view that gold's a great investment? But this is not such whilst you may take a view that gold is a good investment, it's it's not, this is a bank account. This is your family's reserve currency. This is something that when you travel, you can be operating in the stability of gold. And if you want to pay, if you want to pay for something in euros, then you use your debit card or use your mobile phone banking app, and you can do so. And the foreign exchange rates that we will achieve on that currency are very competitive. Well, actually, should be much more pleasing than what you might get charged from your bank, due to the aggregation model of foreign exchange that's going on at the Rails Bank level. But this truly allows you to own gold, to save in gold, to spend gold. It's your true gold card. The card's not made out of solid gold before you get too excited, but it does represent your direct ownership of gold. So we think there's definitely somewhere between the space of all the change going on in global banking and the perception of fiat currency and maybe how that's been expanded, the monetary supply in the last few decades, and it's come off the gold standard in the last 50 years, and some of the issues that may cause in the future, and the value of these currencies that historically reduce your purchasing power greatly over time. I think the US has lost 99% of its purchasing power over the last 100 years, for example. Gold is stable, it is tangible. You can now have all the flexibility and convenience of using it as a normal currency, and this is truly a groundbreaking thing. So I'm happy to answer some questions about this, obviously, but yeah, moving on to, I suppose, just to summarise what our milestones were that we achieved in 2017. We've established this dynamic business model which combines natural resources and financial technology, and we are uniquely experienced in both, and that's important because you may see on some of the markets companies now changing their name to put the word blockchain in it. That's more of a flavour of the month thing. If you want the deep sort of knowledge of these things, you need people who've been in there for years already. George, I'm sure, was speaking very eloquently about what they're doing at KR1. I'm a shareholder of KR1. I probably should disclose that. There is definitely a space for cryptocurrencies for what that ownership, that digital representation of ownership is, and the utility that some of those can provide. But for the mainstream, we believe in the mainstream. Most people still see cryptos and even Bitcoin, they see it as a bit of a fraud, or at least there's nothing behind it. However, the global financial system is changing, global banking system is changing, and we want to be part of that transformation. We want to be at the forefront of it. And that is where we've positioned ourselves with gold, and really targeting, rather than the cleverness of the fintech side of it, but actually the status of dealing in gold. That traditionally, gold meant you had wealth. I mean, if you are dealing in gold and you can hold gold and transact in gold, and indeed with Goldbloc, anyone now can. If you can get a bank account, you can get one of these. On the physical exploration and mining side of it, we have our feasibility study completed on the most advanced gold mine development that we have in India at Jonagiri. We've released the location of the next Indian gold mine targeted for development. We've received pilot plant testing permissions for our Finland operations for 200 tonnes there on our equipment plant testing. We have developed the digital gold currency Goldbloc, and as I mentioned before, that actually represents a weight of gold, a 1/1000th of a gram of gold. If you're a Goldbloc millionaire, it means you physically own a kilo of gold. We have an e-money licence granted from the FCA. We've attracted leading global mining executive to work with the company in Alan Davies. We've added technical and operational geological know-how at board level with David Price, and the company became financially robust right at the end of last year, and it has very strong share liquidity. So 2018 targets, we're looking to complete the investment in Rails Bank Limited that will see Lionsgold hold 12.5%, and also acquire an exclusive right to use the Rails Bank platform, banking and compliance platform, for gold, for physical gold, obviously, such as Goldbloc, but also for gold derivatives, should we want to go down that path. We're looking to release Goldbloc in Q2 via a mobile banking app and debit card. And our target there by the end of the first year is to onboard 20,000 users. In India, we have the Jonagiri mine. We're working with our partners to secure funding, acquire the land and complete a mine developer operator contract and commence building the mine. That is all happening this year, we expect, sooner rather than later. We have South Kola as far as the other targets for obtaining 2 mining leases there of 20 square kilometres in total. And we have Kuika, where we want to obtain the bulk sampling permissions to do 5,000 tonnes of ore and demonstrate that there's mineable gold. On the corporate targets, these include expansion of our Fintech gold strategy. There's a lot more to this than just Goldbloc, but certainly Goldbloc is our key focus at the moment. Acquiring part of a Bombay Stock Exchange listed company. We see that as something that will be strategically important to the value of the company and to its interest in India. And gaining rights to a potentially very big gold deposit. That really is the last piece of the puzzle. If you're going to have more and more people in the world, or at least in the UK, if we're talking tens of thousands, operating and buying physical gold, then that, whilst that increases, and particularly if the gold market is going up and appears to be in a bull market, which would obviously help the distribution of Goldbloc if it is, but it does appear to be that way, then the price per ounce is going up. The demand for physical gold is going up, so not derivatives, but actual physical gold. And then ultimately what you really want to have in your back pocket as a company is a big deposit of gold that you can go and source the gold from ultimately if the economics warrant it. Initially though, gold's a very liquid market. We can source refined gold and vault it, and been doing that for many years as track. But yeah, there's Lionsgold from where it is today should, with some of the strategies we've got in mind, and we don't really want to go too specifically into them, but really should transform its position in value as a company, in its influence and what it can do. It's a very exciting year. We're very thankful that there were some favourable things occurred at the end of last year, which give us the cash resources and the secure footing that we want to fast track some of these things. But yeah, we think where Lionsgold is at the moment is just at the beginning of what it's going to become.